December 2017. Important shifts between Mars and Jupiter in Libra. Mercury retrograde from Sagittarius to Scorpio. Huge transformations between the Scorpio-Sagittarius axis. One incredibly stressful and intense week, and a lot more. So I'm making this forecast for December 2017. Quite a few shifts that you're going to want to pay attention to in the upcoming month of December. Now we start the month off, as you see we're here at December 1st, and we're about at the full moon. When we move forward one day, we're here actually on the full moon day, but the full moon happens exactly in Rohini Nakshatra. As you see, the sun is like 17 degrees 34 seconds, and we have this full moon in Taurus. So the full moon is opposite the sun sign, as you see that the sun is in Scorpio down here. And so what the full moon does is it brings that harmonizing point, that opposition point. So Scorpio cycle started last month, and it's where we learn to go deeper into our vulnerabilities and strengthen our fears, so we're not just reactive. Opposite that is Taurus, where we stabilize that energy and we integrate the Scorpio lesson with the opposite sign of Taurus. So without that integration, there is no completion of the cycle. So the culmination of the Scorpio lesson is when we can harmonize and integrate its opposite, which is Taurus. So there's a sort of harmonic tension between the opposites. And at this time we'll be feeling that harmonic tension and stress, where part of us is trying to really strengthen and transform, but in contrast we feel the stability and the structure of Taurus, making things solid and saying, okay, everything's not about transformation and upheaval and stress and worry and fear and restlessness. You can connect with your environment, with the moment, with the breath. That's what Taurus is great at, is entering the present moment where we're content and peaceful, and where we feel stable and solid and connected to the earth and to the moment. Even if we're not of this earth, ultimately, the body is always present in the moment, and that's where we need to come in order to encounter our true self. So this moon is exalted. It's an exalted full moon. And it's opposite the debilitated new moon, because the new moon was in Scorpio, where the heart was very restless. Halfway point is the exalted moon. So this is emblematic of the contrast, that in order to work through the deepest difficulty, we need to establish the highest stability, and we need to harmonize those two. So it's in Rohini Nakshatra, which is good for many things, including things like acquisition, and you might, like buying things and connecting with things in your environment and the people in your environment that refer to what I just said. And hopefully not just in a trivial way. Hopefully it's not just, buying stuff that makes you happy on the surface, but things that take you deeper. And it's not just about buying things, but that's one way that it manifests. It's also about acquiring more connection and with more people, and reaching out and embracing things that give you a feeling of peace. And again, Rohini means growth and growing. So it's ruled by Prajapati, who was the creator, and Prajapati literally is the one who created everything through all of his daughters, or his main daughter, Rohini. And so this act of creating through beauty and creating what we find beautiful is important today. So it's not just a passive kind of, all right, I feel content and peaceful. It's about creating something that brings that peace into a solid, tangible form. I talked about buying something because you could even buy something that brings that into your life. So maybe even buy like a beautiful statue of, to be devoted to, for example, or buy gifts for people around you or something. Think of that part of it, because that is a part of Rohini as well. So then let me go back to the middle of the day hours. Then we go to December 3rd through the 22nd. We see that, watch here, Mercury is going to turn retrograde on the 3rd. And Mercury will be retrograde until December 22nd. So you see Mercury's retrograde between these two signs, between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So we're going to be reflecting on those things that we believe and how those beliefs came from a certain distress and a certain uncertainty, which is Scorpio. It's uncertainty, vulnerability. We can't exist in uncertainty and vulnerability very long. We then latch onto something to believe. And that's the Scorpio-Sagittarius axis. So we've had a lot of planets going through that axis. Saturn went back there. Saturn has been going back and forth between Scorpio and Sagittarius for the last year. And the Jeshta Mula Gandanta, which again is where Sagittarius ends and where Scorpio ends and Sagittarius begins. Again, just to say, this is purely sidereal astrology. Rashi's nakshatras aligned. Scorpio ends at Jeshta, Mula begins, Sagittarius. And so Mercury's going to go retrograde over that Gandanta point, which is right where Saturn just went as well. So all of this stuff we've seen culturally and whatnot, with making this commitment to what inspires us and seeing a certain amount of justice in the world, like with the allegations of abuse and all that stuff. This has a lot to do with Saturn going from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Mercury's going to go back over that and really have you question your beliefs. Notice how your beliefs and your inspirations have been shifting for the last year or so. You've had to. Been a lot of shifts and changes in the political schema of the world, power shifts and changes. How has that impacted what you believe, your beliefs? How much are those beliefs fueled by your fears? Now is a time with Mercury going retrograde over that point to get very clear about that. And that includes things like astrology and studying and noticing and other things that inspire you. Are you just blindly believing in things? Are you examining data? Are you maybe somewhat confused but not willing to actually take the time to concentrate? Again, this is what Saturn going over this point has brought. It's what Mercury going back and forth between December 3rd and December 22nd is also going to bring forth. And of course the typical things like computers and data, but also your own words and how you speak and how you convey this information based on whether or not it's your fears or your hopes, or, we're all a conduit of information. We're putting things out there. What's coming back to you based on what you're putting out? How are you being received? Very important now on many levels. And of course, based on the house this is in, if Sagittarius, Scorpio are, the 9th and 10th houses, like for Pisces, then it's showing how your beliefs influence your career. Let's say it's Virgo, then it's 3rd and 4th house, how much your interests bring peace or destabilize your peace. So then we have on December 7th and 8th, actually like December 6th and 7th. So you see December 6th, Moon has joined Rahu, December 7th as well. So December 6th and 7th moon, Rahu is bringing a lot of emotion and feeling. Of course, Rahu tends to make things big. Rahu is in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So the moon comes here and we get very full of our feeling and emotion. Rahu makes it big, and it's making it big, its moon in Cancer, which is its own domain. The emotions are already big. But it's not just emotions. The moon is always the emotion, but Cancer is actually the source of pure love. Purity, as per the guna. This is why guna is so important. So we're trying to connect with pure love now, and the purity of the heart, not the confusion of the emotions. And Rahu is making it big, so there can be some confusion, but it's confusion that leads to emotional depth. And even when I say emotional depth, emotions are kind of like the surface of the water. Depth is already deeper. So even the term emotional depth is kind of a misnomer. It's depth of feeling. Feeling is already deeper than emotion. Feeling is the source of the emotion, just like water is the source of the waves. The emotion is just the surface. Now there's still a little bit of emotion under the surface. We can still feel a little bit of that. But the further we go under the water, the less there's a current, less there's ups and downs. Just below the surface there's still some of that. On the surface there's the most. Just like life. When we live on the surface of life and surface interactions, it's all emotion and interaction and battle and struggle. That's all emotion. We go a little deeper, a little bit of awareness. We're not so jacked around by the emotion. We go even deeper and deeper. Once we go even, down into the real depth, then we're just connected to the heart all the time. And all this stuff on the surface literally almost has no effect on our consciousness. This is the way enlightenment is and feels. You're self-contained, you're connected to your heart. So that's the possibility, but again, with Rahu moon, that could be kind of elusive. But all the disturbances, emotions, attachments allow it to lead you to the depth of your heart on December 6th and 7th, rather than having you just bopping up and down on the waves of emotion. Then we have a very interesting and intense stretch from, you see this is November 13th, December. So literally by December 12th, you see the moon is about to go into Libra in the middle of the day. Or no, actually, let me get these hours right. Okay. So yeah, it's really like December 13th, we could say. We'll start the day there. December 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 17 is a new moon. 18, 19, and then by the 20th it leaves. So literally for this week, December 13th through the 20th, the moon is passing through all of these planets. First it starts with Mars, Jupiter. Now we have Mars, Jupiter in Libra, which yes, you see Mars enters November 30th. Mars enters Libra with Jupiter, but by the time we get, into the month, Mars is firmly established in Libra and we start feeling the disruption. So again, Libra is a sign of interaction where we want to be harmonious with others, where we want to yield, we want to please others, we want people to like us. So we try to be pleasant. It feels good when we get along with people. That's very Libra and Venus energy. Mars has no agenda for that. Mars wants to make things clear and distinct. In fact, Mars is the part of you that likes breaking connection. You know how good it feels when you've been compromising with something or someone too much, and you say, that's enough, and you let them have it, and you confront, and you break the connection. And you feel good, you feel strong that you were able to break out of that. It doesn't necessarily feel good, but there's a part of us that feels like we should have done it earlier, or that feels, vindicated and strong and powerful, that we're able to stand up for ourselves. That's Mars. Now, if it's too powerful, we do it all the time, and we're too guarded and whatnot. And we shouldn't need to assert and, vent and burn somebody up. At best, these things are always done and boundaries are always maintained. And when that happens, people don't encroach on us and we don't compromise too much and all of that. Jupiter is also the thing that is about the principle, like the big idea. This is why now we're seeing, even in our social interactions, culturally, we're seeing a lot of justice come around relationship. The relationship between the sexes, which is Libra. Since Jupiter has gone into Libra, you've seen all of these scandals here in the U.S., especially with all these things that have to do with social abuse. Men abusing women, abusing their power, abusing their position sexually, all these kinds of unacceptable things. Jupiter and Libra, very much about that, especially since Saturn also went into Sagittarius, bringing justice. So anyway, these two energies, Jupiter and Mars in Libra, are going to be quite militant about these things. We may see some real explosive actions in your personal life. You want to be careful. And try to be patient. One of the best things to do when we have all this volatile energy is nothing. We often want to do something and vindicate, respond, react. During this week, from December 13th through the 20th, one of the best things you can do is nothing. Don't react. Try to remain compassionate to what's happening in your personal life. Notice in the world how some things might really come to a head. With social unrest, social groups really being pitted against each other. Maybe not, that doesn't mean clashes in the streets, but it means, like several months ago in the U.S., we had the whole, white supremacists marching, and all of these social issues coming up. We may see a backlash from men against women accusers. We already see some of this coming in the U.S. with some of the proposed election down in Alabama, with these alleged accusers, some of them now being questioned and all this stuff. So this time, all through December, with Mars, Jupiter, and Libra, these can be big themes. With the moon joined 13th and 14th, you want to keep your head down. Notice how your relationships could really explode at this time. Your relationships could really explode at this time with just, jumping up on a big soapbox, feeling disrespected, and really making a big deal about it, blowing things up as a result. So try to be compassionate. Realize that these are the things that are happening. Now you see December 15th, 16th, the moon is debilitated in Scorpio with that retrograde Mercury that I talked about, and also Venus. Now you see Venus and Mars are exchanging while this is happening. So the exchange shows this dialogue, this interaction, where there's a dialogue where it's not one extreme or the other. So the exchange tends to hold things together. So this would mean literally like Mars wants to assert and say, you're not appreciating me, and kind of get upset because Mars in Libra wants to maybe justify or vindicate some injustice. But then because Venus is in Mars' sign, Scorpio, there's a willingness to have that courage and that emotional courage to hang in there and stick with it, which is what Scorpio does. Scorpio has a lot of emotional courage. It's a fixed sign. So rather than letting Mars break the connection in Libra, Venus will hang in there, stick with it in Scorpio. Hang in there and maybe try to be devotional, but also maybe turn it into a kind of paranoia or fighting back. For sure, because the other person, somebody's attacking you with Mars and Libra, you're going to want to attack back because you also have Mars and Libra going through your chart. But then again, this dialogue between the attacking of Mars and Libra and the attempts at accommodation with Venus and Scorpio, and the greatness of Scorpio is the willingness to go to those dark places and maybe evaluate what we're doing. So this tends to hold things together where they don't just blow apart. But it would be false to say, oh, so it's good. Oh, so it balances it out. Again, I don't like using those kinds of words because they don't make sense. They have nothing specific about them. I just described the way you would understand it, and this is how all exchanges work. It's the exchange of one planet in a sign with another planet in a sign. So it's still a planet and a sign, another planet and a sign, and there's a dialogue. Like I just said, it's Mars and Libra, breaking the connection, Venus and Scorpio, having the emotional courage to hang in there, and through that, there's a connection. It's not like balancing it out in some amorphous, vapid way. It's a literal thing. That's what you do when you do a reading. You actually describe the thing, not just put a label on it. Well, it's going to be bad, but it's not that bad because there's an exchange. That's irrelevant. Just a little sort of lesson. Because a lot of my students watch this and we talk about these things. So you want to always be able to explain things literally based on the literal things and not just judge it. The first was a judgment. Well, it's going to be bad. It's going to be this. Oh, but not that bad because the Parivartana Yoga is not so bad. It means that it winds up being okay or something. It's irrelevant. So Moon going in Scorpio at this time is also going to be a trigger point itself. Because it's debilitated, and it's with Venus, and it's with retrograde Mercury. Or what am I doing? So again, there's a high capacity to misunderstand what's being said, misspeak because it's with retrograde Mercury, miscommunicate, misunderstand, misspeak, lash out through words. All of this is happening. This is why some of the best advice is do nothing if you can. It doesn't mean allow yourself to be abused. It means don't react. It doesn't mean do nothing. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, inaction is impossible. You must act. So fight, Arjuna. That's what Krishna says. But what are you fighting? Are you fighting them? Are you fighting yourself? Fighting your own impurities? You have the capacity to endure stress and difficulty. And a lot of it will be coming from your intimate circle, people that you love. And it's not necessarily them, it's you too. Watch your tendency to lash out, criticize, win. This is one of the biggest problems with Mars. This is what arguing is. We then try to win the argument instead of gain any understanding or awareness. Once I see someone is that way, I won't bother with them anymore. I'll give you a hint. And that's something you should really look at. Once you see that someone is not interested in truth, they're just interested in winning, this is the trait that should make you not want to bother with anybody. If someone's interested in understanding things, then I'll try to work things out. If they're just interested in winning in some capacity, I have no use for them. They're off my radar because I'm not just interested in winning. So watch your tendency to just win. And again, it's not often, it doesn't show up that way. Often. It shows up in a way that's real. Oh no, this is real. You really did this because of this and this and this, and it's enough. I need to vindicate this. I need to tell you. I need to punish you. I need to show you what you did wrong. And when it comes back at you, what do? Do you listen? Do you listen to their perspective, or do you just want to win? Oh, no. We've built up all this justification. We should doubt that stuff constantly. Have you ever been wrong about it? Of course you have. In fact, many times we're wrong more often than we're right when we're in that frame of mind. Because that's what Mars is. Mars energy. And again, there's a lot of Mars. Mars is in Scorpio with Jupiter, which is a potentially fanatical place. The desire to win fueled by some philosophy of being right. And then all the Scorpio energy. Mercury's in Scorpio retrograde, which is a confusing place. Venus is there, and the moon. So don't trust your desire to win and vindicate and get revenge and all that stuff right now. During this time, especially. So this is December 16, 17, and then you see by the time we're in the middle of the day on the 18th, we already have the new moon. So the new moon happens in the US on the night of the 17th. So then this starts that Sagittarius cycle. And it's in Mula Nakshatra, December 17th, 18th. And again, this is purely sidereal. Mula Nakshatra, after Jeshta, comes where Scorpio and Sagittarius shift. And it's about uprooting and planting new seeds of truth and purpose and direction and inspiration. Sagittarius themes. So the last section of Scorpio is ruled by Lord Indra, and it's Jeshta, which is about that emotional courage to do battle, just like the story of Lord Indra, directly related to Scorpio, and then Sagittarius, Gandanta point between Sagittarius and Scorpio, Jeshta, Mula. It's in every ancient Vedic, it's in every Vedic astrology text that we use. So again, we've had a lot of planets going over this Jeshta, Mula, Gandanta point. Especially Saturn has went back over it a couple times. Mercury just went retrograde over it. And now we have the new moon there. So again, it's a renewal. The new moon is when sun and moon come together and start the new cycle. So this starts the new cycle of Sagittarius on December 17th. Of course, I'll do a detailed video about this like I always do. And it's in Mula Nakshatra, where a new cycle of uprooting and planting seeds of truth that are based on what inspires you and based on high purpose and high wisdom and true teaching, true wisdom. Again, that's what the Mercury retrograde is trying to figure out and make sure you're clear about. And it's also been raked back and forth because Saturn has been going over the Jeshta, Mula, Gandanta point, the Scorpio-Sagittarius axis, for the last year. So we're really trying to get down to a sort of bone level truth right now. So this will be an important cycle for you to evaluate your teachings, your teachers, what you're willing to commit to and focus on, what you're willing to sacrifice and let go of, whether or not these teachings are based on truth and real wisdom, or whether they're based on trivia. You know, we live in a kind of culture now and a world of things called fake news that's just used to propagate. You know, fake news itself is often fake news. You'll see something happen, and you'll, just because the news reports on it, because you don't like what it says, you might say it's fake news. I'm not saying you, but in the U.S. we have a president who does this. Just reporting what he just said, he says, oh, that's fake news. You just see it. Nothing fake about it. It's just not liking something, as it might relate in your life, not liking someone, not liking their personality more than liking another person's personality, means that you don't listen to what the one person says, even if the one person is saying the truth. Or let's say the whole scientific truth of something is less important than the celebrity and what the celebrity would say. We're all seduced by this. We have to be very vigilant now. This is a huge issue that's been working out in the world between the Scorpio-Sagittarius, Jeshta, Mula, globally. The rise of this. And we all have to find it within ourselves. I'll be neutral about it, but this is what everyone is trying to uncover right now. And this cycle of Sagittarius, which starts December 17th, December 18th, is where we're all trying to get real, especially about things that are sacred, especially sacred teachings, sacred traditions are very important. And the integrity and the truth of them, which is Saturn, and Mercury, which is the information. Now this new moon is a great opportunity for you to plant new seeds of hope and wisdom and optimism. And especially after having just gone through all of this, if you can sit still with this intensity and go deeper into your heart, go deeper into the truth of your being and consciousness and awareness, This could be a great and an amazing cycle for you. A cycle of new hope, new optimism, new purpose. But it could be challenging as well because it's Moon Saturn. It's going to challenge you to be alone and to get real rather than stay on the surface. And it's going to show the flaws in your process, the process that I just described, in all areas that are important, and in the things that are really inspiring you in your life. How much are they based on authentic truth, authentic wisdom? How much are you being real about it? Or how much are you just kind of being silly and putting things out there and kind of following teachings that are kind of silly? That's the biggest danger these days, the way I see it. We don't know what's true and what's real anymore, and even when we see it, if we don't like it, we don't listen to it. Even when it's obvious, especially if we're trying to win something or we have some interest that's maybe personal and not factual. Okay, so as you see, then we get into December 21st, 22nd. Moon joins Ketu in Capricorn. Again, Capricorn is a sign of a strong commitment to what inspires us. We're inspired in Sagittarius, but we do the work and the commitment and the sacrifice in solitude, where nobody's looking, nobody's watching, nobody's praising us, nobody's feeding our ego, in Capricorn. And in fact, in many ways, Capricorn destroys that ego, destroys that hope on some level, so that we get real. Because we have, again, it doesn't destroy hope, but hope is a thing that we're like, oh yeah, and then when we try to put it into practice, it's a very different muscle. The thing that inspires you and that gives you hope is not the thing that takes you to the goal. What takes you to the goal is applying the teaching, actually doing it. And often, you don't start doing it until something comes to shatter all of that hope. This is what Saturn really does, is it shatters our hopes. You might say, well, that's not good. No, it's not good, it's great. Because hope is an abstraction. You've had hopes about many things. How many times have those hopes not turned out to really do anything? Actually, always. Because that just hangs out in some abstract space. It doesn't become wisdom and teaching until you apply it and until it's challenged. So Capricorn is kind of where those hopes go to die. And they go to die to something much greater, which is practice, focus, commitment, methodology. And that shows how much of those philosophies that we preach about are we actually putting into practice. How much does all the stuff you believe in affect your life when you have to face something serious and you have to face your mortality or the death of something or losing something? That's what Capricorn's about. So Ketu going through Capricorn is really challenging us to develop this muscle and to go deeper into it. So Moon Ketu, now we're going to feel that with a lot of strength now, and it's not always pleasant. It can bring up some real painful emotions and painful emotional habits that connect you with the thing I just said. It's one thing to have hope and to be, but now that all your negative emotions are coming up and you're not sure anymore, what do? Well, that's when you need to put them into practice. December 21st and 22nd. Then, as we see here, December 23rd, even like December 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. Look, December 25th, Venus-Saturn are exact. So Venus-Saturn is to, again, in many ways, kind of bring you down to earth, make you sort of humble about those people in your life. Now, it's in Sagittarius, which has a quality of, again, hope and purpose and feeling inspired. But then Saturn is there saying, oh, I want to be so inspired by this person, but they don't appreciate me. They make me feel bad. I have to work so hard. And again, Venus, or we blame ourselves. I'm not worthy, or Usually, in this case, it would be I'm having to work so much, or I'm not appreciated, and these kinds of things. And so what we can tend to do, again, blame the other, not appreciate them because they're not appreciating us, and this whole thing. So Venus Saturn now, this is, Christmas, the whole holiday thing, and the few days before the holidays, a couple days after. Try to be humble and appreciative of those people in your life that tolerate you. Because sometimes you're a handful. Most of the time, right? You're a handful. But they try, and you try. So now's the time to try to honor that rather than feel depressed because it's not perfect. The Saturn brings this depression because we realize nothing here on Earth is perfect. Nope, it's not. Not them, not you, not it. So there could be a great lesson learned, and it should connect you to higher purpose, higher spiritual purpose, if you can not make it so emotional, because it's Sagittarius. What inspires you and your teachings, this stress between Venus and Saturn can lead you to that at this time, on December 22nd through like the 26th or so. And then as you see, as we get to the end of the year, look at Mars and Jupiter getting closer and closer. You see this exact conjunctions of Mars and Jupiter. This is December 28th, 29th, 30th. They're almost within 1 degree, 31. So this is going to culminate in, January. Here's January 6th. They're exact, January 7th. So just know that at the end of the year, as we're grinding toward the end of the year, Mars and Jupiter are becoming exactly conjoined in Libra. So that thing that I mentioned about potential relationship explosiveness, even like social explosiveness, like something political or social, particularly I would say we may see some real fights and backlash over perhaps things that have to do with race or the gender fight that we're seeing right now, or some other sort of cultural issue like we had with the white supremacists marching, things like this. There's no question Mars, Jupiter coming together exactly in Libra is going to show a struggle. It could show some high level like firings and resignations, prosecutions. I'm staying out of the politics with this, but end of this year and into next year could show some very important legal shifts and prosecutions and difficulties. So I want to stay out of the politics with this. I may do an update about that real soon, but right now I just want to keep it this way. So you want to understand that I do these updates every day. I do daily forecasts. I do monthly forecasts with the new moons and the full moons. You can check all of that out if you like. But I hope you appreciated this, and please share this with others if you think they'll enjoy it. Takes quite a bit of time to do this, and I'd like to get this in as many hands as I can. This is free stuff that I do just for people so they can be informed. So if you appreciate this and you think others will appreciate it, please like it on Facebook and YouTube and link to it and share it with others.